Admiral, Yonko, Zoro, San. Wait, hold on. Wrong anime. Nah, it's pretty much how it's going. Gege took a 2-week break, so yeah, he left us with 7 pages, alright, so we're gonna have to do a lot with this. Now, if you're new to my agenda videos, I'm gonna quickly go over them real quick because I know it's a new series I'm focusing on, so I'm gonna break it down for the new lot. For everybody that's been here for an agenda video, you already know what to expect, so strap in while I just, give the new guys a little taste of what's about to come. Now, an agenda is something when you push a character beyond their limits. So for instance, if I was going to use an example, I'd say Maki is the strongest heavy hitter. But we know damn well that's not the case. Since for an agenda like that, you'd have to say, oh well, Maki took black flashes from Sukuna and obviously he is one of the strongest. Obviously with those points, we know that Sukuna was weakened, but obviously as an agenda, you can skip that and just push your own thing and make your own narrative. I know that agendas in JJK are very, very different to ones in One Piece. Like the average JJK agenda is not as harsh as it is in One Piece, so I'm going to tone it down for this video. But just know that an agenda is usually when you basically twist the narrative to make your character look better and try to put him in a high position. And I've gone over that, let's get into Yuta. Now to start, we gotta go all the way back to JJK Volume 0, where I'm only gonna briefly go over since I don't really need to go in depth into it to get an agenda out of it. Since the whole thing was kind of just glazing him until he basically beats Ghetto, and we don't really need to go over that, so yeah. Yuta basically beats a special grade sorcerer out of the gate, which means his betrayal and everything is sky high. Throughout the volume, he just grows and develops, which means everybody was basically his fan at that point. When he came back, like 100 and something chapters later, he had fans there waiting for him and it was a payoff. Now this is really where the Yuta agenda does start, since obviously he does meet Yuji and immediately Yuji compares him to Gojo and we're like, oh okay, so Yuta has been hyped up before to be obviously Gojo's distant cousin, and now he's being compared to Gojo in terms of creepiness. It's just overwhelming cursed energy, so we're like, oh okay, so Yuta must be that guy now after a year. Immediately he goes and stabs Yuji and obviously wakes up Sukuna. Sukuna's like, what? What's this guy doing? I personally cannot see what the agendas were back then, since I wasn't even active in the community. I was active in the community I don't know, 20 chapters later after this. Just know with his reappearance right here, it just made him look really, really powerful. Just from that skirmish, Yuta did look very, very strong, and we have to also include the part we did with the RCT. That's just a personal favorite part, I'm sorry. But yeah, you get it. And then we obviously get the part where he obviously tells Yuji that he didn't really want to do it, he was just doing it for the higher ups. Now at this point, Yuta is basically sky high, until he then mentioned someone that we've all been waiting for. That was Hikari. He said that Hikari is stronger than him when he gets worked up, or he gets going. And obviously people took this and ran, they ran for their heels. They were like, oh really? Oh, say less. And this is when Hikari fans started coming out of the woodwork. Now obviously in that exact same panel, Maki does deny that, but people are like, oh, but it came from Yuta's mouth, so it has to be right. So that was really the beginning of Hikari versus Yuta, and I'm going to get into that later. But after this is where Yuta obviously vows to kill Kenjaku and goes on to fight Ryu and Uro, and obviously they had their little 3-way clash, and then Yuta basically just beats everybody there in amazing fashion, allowing him to get glazed even more, considering he got a lot of points at the exact same time and didn't even want to kill them, so you could say that he was technically holding back. We also get confirmation that he has a domain. Now people later come back to this and say that he was lying, and then the very next, you know what, we're gonna get back to that later, don't worry, I'm not gonna go over that now. But obviously the fight ends and Yuta is still getting glazed, but then Hikari fights Kashimo, and that's where it basically throws a wrench in the works. Now obviously this is where the Yuta vs Hikari thing just goes big, and then Sukuna versus Gojo happens, and this is where Yuta does get bashed again. During the fight between Sukuna and Gojo, every time we would see everybody's reaction, Yuta would look stressed. I'm telling you, he looked stressed. And at the time, nobody knew why, and we were just taking the mick out of it because obviously it's agenda. Take the mick out of whoever is against your agenda. But I find out why, and we find out it's a good reason why he was stressed. But back then, we did not care and was joking around with it. But later, he then goes on to beat Kenjaku, and we know he gets help later, but we don't know at the time. A few people did theorize it, but we thought that he used Boogie Woogie himself, not Todo, obviously. Obviously, after he defeats Kenjaku, he then goes to fight Sukuna, and the thing with him and Sukuna happens. He does showcase a lot of good abilities here, and he does improve, but in the end, he does basically lose and die. Now 2 weeks ago we got the Yuta and Gojo's body reveal, and that chapter was basically just glazing Yuta and putting Yuta up on that pedestal of like, he will be that monster that nobody else wants to be. And we all know that being a monster does attribute to you being stronger in the JJK verse. And with that, everybody had high expectations for this chapter, and then Gege dropped 7 pages and did this to Yuta. And of course people had to come take their shots, and listen, I don't blame them.
The shit that's frying me the most about this chapter is nigga went on a full-on speech. Optimus Prime speech talking about, I'll be the monster since none of you pussy niggas want to do it. And he got that shit beat out of him in 7. Count them, 7 pages. Shit. Nigga was on his knees after 1 left hook. Nigga looked like he was giving head off of 1 left hook. Do you know how insane that is? That nigga Yuji was boxing Sukuna multiple chapters. On his knees, he had to use cleave. 1 normal left hook, 1 hand. He has only 1 hand. 1 hand, his balance is off, and he was able to put him on his knees off of 1 hook. This is who you niggas was talking about top 1 discussions. Is that nigga even better than Kusakabe right now? This is the most pitiful performance a nigga's ever seen. This nigga moving like ant in game 6. He's not real.
Obviously 261 did dead a lot of you to downplay, but 262, yeah, that just revived it instantly. So right now, agenda wise, I wouldn't really say Yuta is the best, since he did talk a big game in 261 and immediately got rocked in 262. Now with context, obviously it doesn't look as bad, but it's agenda. Nobody cares about context. But I've gone over Yuta's presence in the story. Now let's go over his community. Now, as an onlooker from the JJK community, since I'm in it but I'm not really in it, I can be honest and say that the Yuta community does lack what other communities have, and that is being outlandish. So the Hikari fans will make up memes and stuff on the fly. Like, as I said before, Hikari fans started saying that Yuta didn't even have a domain. Like, come on. Like, what? Bro, they can say that because they're funny and they'll get away with it. And the thing is that I've been with the Yuta community since the start of the Culling games, and I still haven't seen a meme or something. They've just come out with something outlandish to make it obviously funny. Like, Hikari fans have had a bunch on Yuta, and I don't even want to get into it since I'm a Yuta fan myself. Within saying that, I've seen very good takes come out of the Yuta community, but it's just the fact that like the other communities, they're just fun and outlandish at the exact same time. And being correct all the time in agenda, yeah, it is something, but being funny and just making people believe what you're saying is also another thing. Like, I'll never get over the way people were clowning Yuta throughout the whole of the Gojo and Sukuna fight. He wasn't even fighting, and people still found ways to clown on him. Like, do you know how... That's funny. Best way to explain the Yuta fans' pandemic right now is the fact that they've played too much on defense. They're never on offense, if that makes sense. So they will never make a Hikari meme, but what they'll do is they'll defend from the memes Hikari fans are making. Now, one agenda the Yuta community is heavy on is him being top 3 or at least top 5, and that is an agenda they're pushing really, really well. Since he does have that win over Kenjaku, and it is very, very likely that he can beat Kashimo in a fight. You also have him versus Yorozu and all those other fights that you can get into, but Yuta fans are trying to aim for the top 3 spot, and that is mainly their agenda. Since he is quite literally stated to be second to Gojo, so I think end of series where Yuta fans really want to put him as like top 4, since Yuta is gonna be behind Gojo, Sukuna, and obviously Yuji. But for right now, that top 3 spot is open, and I think if he does get time to obviously flap his wings and spread them as Gojo, he will be able to take that spot, but we have to see in due time. But yeah, let's go over a quick summary real quick. The Yuta fans as a whole aren't really the strongest, since they'd only play defense instead of playing offense, not make memes back. But when it comes to theorizing and everything, they're really, really good, I'm not gonna lie. And when I say theorize, I mean theorizing his power and where he'll be in terms of strength. And inside of the story, I know he's getting boxed up right now, but he will do well. So I think the Yuta agenda as a whole is doing well. I think right now it's obviously just getting punched because Sukuna gave him a left hook. But aside from that, the Yuta agenda is doing fine, man. It's always been doing fine. Like, Yuta's barely lost any fights. I think he's only lost 1 fight, and that was against Sukuna, so Yuta's doing good, man. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, then like and subscribe, since I love making these videos. If you guys want more JJK agenda videos, I'll make them, since obviously agenda videos are my thing and I love making them. But yeah, if the support is there for this video, then I'll keep making more agenda videos on JJK, because I actually like JJK and I want to post more about it. But yeah guys, until next time.